So how does America's oldest man kick off his day? Not with a gentle herbal tea or a meditative morning stretch, but with a jolt of good stuff. 4 robust cups of coffee. But wait, there is a kicker here. His coffee often shares cup space with a splash of Jack Daniels. Yup, Richard Overton starts his mornings by mixing his cup of joe with a splash of Jack. Today on What They Ate, we explore the incredible diet of America's oldest World War II veteran, Richard Overton. He was there at Pearl Harbor when the battleships were still smoldering, and he was there at Iwo Jima where he said, "I only got out of there by the grace of God." Born back on May 11, 1906 in Bastrop County, Texas, Richard arrived on the scene the same year the airwaves got their first taste of a wireless radio broadcast, and just before Oklahoma became a state. He fought in World War II in a segregated army unit, and after returning from war, spent the bulk of his career working at furniture stores in the Texas Department of Treasury. In 2016, Richard became the oldest man in America. Comedian Steve Harvey once asked Richard what his secret was. Richard's reply, "Just keep living. Don't die." So buckle up as we dive into the extraordinary diet of America's oldest World War II veteran. It turns out the secret to Richard's long, healthy life might not be what you think. Richard Overton swears by his unique regiment he's dubbed the Overton diet. And what, you may ask, fuels this remarkable routine? Well, this spry supercentenarian isn't just famous for dodging the decades, he's also a dedicated aficionado of Tampa sweet cigars. "I started puffing on cigars when I was just 8 years old and haven't stopped since," Overton declared. He's not just a casual smoker either. Richard lights up at least a dozen of these bad boys every day. But hold your gasps, because according to him, he smokes them the healthy way. How's that work? Overton explains. It makes you feel better, but you can't inhale. He advises fellow puffers to just blow it out and let it go, and to forget about swallowing it. According to Richard, if you swallow, there ain't no taste to it. It just makes you cough. I'm doing it the healthy way. There you have it, folks. The secret to longevity might just be in how you puff and pass your cigars, Overton style. Richard Overton starts his mornings by mixing his cup of joe with a splash of Jack. He'd often quip that coffee and whiskey were his best friends, a dynamic duo that kept him sharp. And the love doesn't stop at coffee. Throughout the day, Richard keeps things spirited with sips of what he affectionately calls sweet juice, aka Dr. Pepper. He also likes to throw in some whiskey and cokes to keep the pep in his step. And as for whiskey preference, Richard proudly proclaims, "Most of my whiskey is from Tennessee, because if you're going to sip something all day, make sure it's from the heart of whiskey country." Am I right? Richard Overton's morning menu reads like a dessert lover's dream. Waffles, cinnamon rolls, and pancakes. That's how you kickstart the day when you spun around the sun as many times as Richard has. And between these sweet delights, Richard puffs his way through more Tampa sweet perfecto cigars. Because let's be honest, if you've lived as long as Richard has, you've earned the right to call your shots, whether it's firing up another cigar or anointing Dr. Pepper as sweet juice. But that's not all on the beverage front. The man also keeps his bones happy with plenty of milk. You see, it's not just all about whiskey and smokes, folks. Speaking of whiskey, his care routine might sound like a luxury spa package. He has 4 caregivers working in shifts that would exhaust the clock. They do everything Overton demands, from massaging his feet to adjusting the blinds, not to mention mixing up a mean whiskey and coke. Why? Because even though he might need a little help here and there, make no mistake, Richard Overton runs the show. He's earned his stripes to be as demanding as he pleases, reigning as the undisputed oldest World War II veteran. At this point, you may be wondering, what is Richard Overton's favorite lunchtime meal? The answer? Catfish and gravy with a side of corn. Catfish in America has a tale that's as tangled as a fisherman's line after a bad day on the water. Long before the Europeans crashed the party, Native Americans were already savvy to the delights of this whiskered wonder of the Americans' waterways. With techniques like trapping and spearfishing, they snagged these slippery critters with the kind of ease that would make modern anglers green with envy. The Mississippi River was like the Las Vegas Strip for catfish, always buzzing and full of life. Post-Civil War, catfish really made a name for itself in the South. It was the people's fish, a blue-collar hero of the river that was as humble as it was tasty, often ending up fried and served alongside a heap of grits, a duo as iconic as peanut butter and jelly. Come the mid-20th century, states like Mississippi, Alabama, and Arkansas thought, why just fish for catfish when you can farm them? And so catfish farming boomed. turning this river resident into a full-blown industry star. Controlled environments meant more catfish for everyone, and suddenly, catfish was shooting up the charts of American cuisine. In the 80s and 90s, catfish became the Meryl Streep of fish, beloved by all and popping up everywhere from roadside diners to fancy restaurant menus. Thanks to its mild flavor and wallet-friendly price, catfish was the dinner choice for the masses, proving you don't need to be caviar to be classy. Down south, where Richard Overton is from, catfish fries are more than just meals. They're full-blown social events. Imagine community cookouts where everyone's invited and the guest of honor is, you guessed it, catfish. Sounds delicious? You bet it is. Richard likes to get his serving of veggies in with some good old Campbell's cream of broccoli soup. Way back in 1869, before Richard was even a glimmer in Ma and Pa Overton's eyes, Joseph A. Campbell and Abraham Anderson kicked off their venture in Camden, New Jersey. They weren't just messing around with tomatoes and jellies. They had grander culinary dreams. Enter the Campbell Soup Company, which would soon morph into the veritable soup empire. Fast forward to 1897 when John T. Dorrance, a chemist with a flair for thriftiness, concocted a recipe that revolutionized soup as we know it, condensed soup. That's right, he figured out how to pack all that soupy goodness into a tiny can without breaking the bank or the laws of physics. Then, at some undisclosed but definitely later date, Campbell's decided the world needed cream of broccoli soup. It's a bit murky when this Vegetalite rolled out, but it nestled right into the company's lineup of creamy concoctions, alongside the heavyweight champs cream of mushroom and cream of chicken, which have been slurping around since the 1930s. Cream of broccoli soup quickly became the darling of the American dinner table, wooing folks with its velvety texture and sneaky health, because you know, broccoli. Nowadays, Campbell's cream of broccoli is still basking in its soupy spotlight, and it's the go-to soup of Richard Overton's diet. When it comes to dessert, Richard Overton didn't mess around. His post-dinner lineup, a classic tag team of ice cream and peach cobbler. But not just plain old vanilla or run-of-the-mill chocolate. We're talking a nightly date with a butter pecan. Overton once declared, "I eat ice cream every night," laying down the law of his favorite flavor. He even offered some sage advice for those looking to get on his good side. If you want to buy any, you buy butter pecan. That's right, folks, in the world of ice cream, according to Mr. Overton, it's butter pecan or bust. Richard Overton, America's oldest World War II veteran and the third oldest man in the world, passed away on December 2018. He was 112 years old. What a life and what a man. Thank you for your service and sacrifice, Mr. Overton. Craving more culinary histories? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to join us on more historical culinary expeditions. Because remember, everyone needs to eat.